environment. There was a young man named Gavin Cato who was killed in Brooklyn, and this kid was dragged up the street under the car, and they came and got the person who drove the car out and left the kid underneath the whip in front of his family's house. We gathered thousands of people out there, and then we filmed a video to mark the moment. So we weren't using it like, you know, like Mantan time. We was going and saying, when people watch this video, they remember what happened here. So that's like where Trayvon Martin is, y'all, whatever. Somebody do a video where this situation happened, and just don't start a little hoodie, you know, movement and then it die out. You know, where's the community security now? That stems from that. There are no movements that last now. And what we did at that time was make sure that movements last. When we came and linked our talents and showed up in the street doing video, you know, white power and all kind of different things, people were, you know, stunned. And when they charge like that, you give them direction and you make sure you follow up. A lot of cats didn't follow up. When they brought that movement in, that whole gangster era, they wanted to flush us out of the game completely. Because it's easier for me to deal with a mentality that's not going to question me. You want to be put on, I want something to sound better than them. Something that's simple, easy for cats to remember. They don't have to research. Gin and juice, this, that, and the other. Tell them what to do, tell them what to buy. Let's make relationships. And that overrode what we have to say. You know, there's partial anger there, you know, to the consumers who are dealing with us. You know, we're supposed to have loyalty to say if we left these labels, we should still be able to plan and continue to give you. We shouldn't have a distraction. And there was no loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Real deal.
Okay, so I know that you guys are known mainly for your politically charged lyrics and all your movements and what you stood for. Like, where did you get that motivation from? Like, did you watch, like, I don't know, I don't want to be funny, but did you watch CNN and the news a lot to get your inspiration from all that? Like,
they were CNN for many of us. That's what that was.
Well, you know, this is a question that I always ask people, where do you get your knowledge from? You know what I'm saying? If the TV is giving you all kind of false levels, why would you absorb information from it that you live by? You have to have some kind of eldership that you can go and get involved with and ask questions. Like when I wanted to learn about Malcolm X, for instance, I didn't go and just read the book. I went and asked a brother who was around him. You know, I said, why be in these movements and I can't touch somebody who touched this man, gave him dap? You know what I'm saying? If y'all, you know, sat and smoked herb, or if y'all had a drink together, whatever it might have been, I want to know the conversation. I want to know the vibration. I want to know the vibration of what that was, so I can get totally charged. I want to talk to somebody when he was pimping and see what was his motivation. Was he trapped in there for financial and his minister was there, or, you know, did he totally make a change when he got to the ministry? I want to know what it is.
so
You know?
when you did write a lot of those raps, did you really do a lot of research prior to that?
I have to, because, you know, you get in these forums and people asking questions.
And also back in the day, you know, you couldn't lie in your hood without somebody checking you. I mean, and you know, we used to have a saying that we kind of still held in our relationship, or even all the way up into the millennium. What really started off rap, it was made out of word, and your word had to be bond. So your word had to be bond, meaning that, you know, you wasn't fabricating a whole bunch of this and that and make believe. It had to be bond. You could not lie in your hood. You could not lie. It's like, you just couldn't. And if you was a rapper, you was speaking for cats, you could kind of like dress things up, but you just couldn't straight out lie. Because cats would check you like, yeah, nah, man, they ain't.
So you can't rap about pimping and knowing that you're not really doing it, in other words.
Totally not at all. There's no people that always be looking at you. The guys that was pimping will be looking at you like, I told you, young ass to take your ass to school. Like, you know, who is this kid? You know, I mean, there was lanes, and you know, everything is everything. Meaning that, you know, thugs had their area, and you know, people that made music had their area. They really didn't make it. Cats that played ball, they had their area. Cats that just hung around and just tried to get, you know, the chicks every day and all that. The party cats, they had their area, you know. And nobody, like, you know, if you didn't see thugs making music. It's like they were thugs. I mean, if they wanted to turn ice cream trucks over, that's what they did. Everybody knew who they were. But it started to change around 1980 during R&B. That was Reagan and Bush. A lot of things started changing. All of a sudden, look, I'm 52, so I got, some little tenure here. I was born in 1960. I clearly remember you could not find a gun in a black neighborhood in the East Coast until like in Queens and Brooklyn and in the Bronx, you could find guns around 74, 73. I mean in abundance, but not a lot. And then where I lived further out on Long Island, you couldn't find a gun till like 77, 78. The drugs were weed. It wasn't hard drugs. The hard drugs came in around 71 and then dipped off after people were coming back from Vietnam. 1980, after Jimmy Carter was president, Ronald Wilson Reagan was the president of the United States with George Bush, the father, was his vice president. All of a sudden, after 1979, they had the cocaine wars, and then that ran throughout New York City. And then in 1980, all of a sudden, Castro was selling weed in 76 and 77. If they wasn't locked down, they were selling cocaine in 78, 79. Later on in 84, 85, they still was running things in the game, they were selling crack, which was actually a process of cocaine, whatever. With the drugs also came this plethora of guns. 78, 79 was almost, you start seeing a lot of guns, a lot of cats from Brooklyn, they would get guns quick. Bronx, Manhattan, they would get guns quick. 2 years later, all the outskirts started to get guns. 4 years later, all the other cities started to sell cocaine, then crack. And then crack was big like it was in New York in 84, big in Detroit in 87, right? 87, 88, they were going through the crack epidemic while New York was trying to filter back from it and try to fall back from it. When we make the song Night of the Living Bassheads, that was issuing a statement about the crack epidemic that it just ran rampant. It destroyed black neighborhoods. So the only thing to save the black neighborhood at that point was we knew that government wasn't going to do anything physically because it was COINTELPRO. We had to put a mental seed into the head to say, you know what? Well, how you scare a kid from anything is to make them go, ugh. And if you can make them go, ugh, you could probably get them to probably stray away from something as opposed to getting them attracted to something. So we see these changes from 1980 to 1990. That was 10 years of devastation. My years 80 to 86 dealing as a New Yorker, and then my years 87 to 1990 seeing that spread across the United States. The whole situation in Southern California, down in LA, was started from taking neighborhood factions coming out of the Panthers, street situations, and turning them into kind of like gun and drug rivals. Once you put drugs and guns in it, you got new heads coming up, the OGs are in prison, and the young heads coming up start making and flipping their own rules, not paying attention to the OGs. That's how, I mean, they just poured that in. And so we had to answer to a lot of this and seeing it. And when